This is my Lego 7740, a classic intercity train from the 12-volt era. And it has a problem. Its speed is too slow. It appears to be doing alright when watching it drive in the straights. But its maximum speed is about 40 centimeters per second, and that's about 16 inches per second. In the corners it's even slower, due to friction. Compare this to the Horizon Express that happily goes 80 centimeters per second. That's about 32 inches per second. This is about the maximum speed I keep on all my tracks. All RFID readers on this track are tested with this speed. The problem with the speed of the 7740 is that it is its maximum speed. There's no reserve left, so if we want to add a sleeping carriage or the postal container wagon, the speed will even decrease more and it might get stuck in corners. But now I really need to explain something to you. Of course you've watched my older videos and you've seen my video about automating this train using a 9-volt rechargeable battery. So you probably think I'm an idiot. Of course this train is a little bit slow. And you're right. About the 9-volt power supply. So the easiest solution appears to be to replace the 9-volt DC-DC voltage converter with a 12-volt version. But I'm a bit reluctant in just upgrading the power supply to 12-volt. The reason for it is that I'm also powering the Arduino with this 9-volt. And that's a Pro Mini like this one, and it has a very tiny voltage regulator that already needs to dissipate more than half of the power the Arduino needs. And that's not even all. Let me show you by measuring the voltage on the motor when putting the train in maximum speed. At this moment the power supply delivers 9-volt. But the measured voltage on the motor is only about 7.5 volt and decreases when adding an artificial load, simulating friction in corners or an extra carriage. And this voltage drop means power loss. So what's happening? Well, the motor control that I'm using is the L293D. It was the obvious choice for me. First of all, it's cheap and I like cheap, and the second reason is that there are a lot of tutorials on the internet about controlling motors with Arduinos using this controller. But this motor controller has two disadvantages. The first one I just showed you. The reason for it is the use of conventional transistors to power the motor. This gives the 1.5 volt voltage drop. The second one is that it requires kickback diodes over the H bridge. The tutorials do not mention it or say that these are included in the IC, but they're not. If they had tested their circuit for longer than 10 minutes or so, they would have blown up the motor controllers, voltage regulators, Arduinos, just like I did. But there is an alternative, this one, the TB6612. It is more expensive, comes on a nice circuit board and has MOSFET and stages, so it does not need kickback diodes. I will replace my old motor controller with this one and we will see what this will do with the speed of the train. But first I'm going to measure the speed of the train before the change. I made a special track with only 3 sensors. When passing the sensor the speed is measured. As you can see the speed is about 45 centimeters per second. That's about 18 inches per second. In the corners the speed decreases, which can be expected. When watching this train do a test drive you will probably notice something else. This train makes a strange squeaking noise. It's the motor that probably needs some maintenance. But opening is not that easy, so that's probably a video on its own. So now I know what the old speed is and now I'm going to replace the motor controller. And finished. This is the old motor controller with kickback diodes and its own 5-volt power supply. First let's measure the voltage again. With the new motor controller the voltage drop is very small and if I add load it only drops a little bit. So let's see how it drives around the track. As you can see the speed is increased a lot and because of the smaller voltage drop during load the speed decreases less in corners. So let's see if I can improve this train even more. I'm going to replace the DC-DC converter with a 12-volt version, adding a separate 5-volt DC-DC converter for the Arduino and a new battery charger with overload protection. So let's measure how it goes around the track. As you can see the speed increased again. It's now around 80 centimeters per second, that's about 32 inches per second. Unfortunately the squeaking noise didn't get any better. So what do you think? Do I need to open my motor or is there anything else I can do? Can this motor be saved? Let me know in the comments. For now I'm happy with the results and maybe I'm upgrading the 7760 as well. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and see you next time.